I feel used. I feel used as a Jewish person. I feel used by the Zionists. I feel used by people like Eric Adams that are scoring political points by going over there and holding weapons like somehow what? What does that mean? And by the way, people, you really need to look into this because there is a very, very strong link between our policing, all different municipalities in this country, whether it's New York, Atlanta, whatever, and the IDF. Okay, Israel is one of the biggest trainers and actually suppliers of our cops here. And it's, municipality to municipality. But for example, they are very involved. The IDF has been very involved with the groups in Atlanta and regarding the cop city. So there is a very strong link between Israel and policing. And what I really think it comes to is the Fraternal Order of Police. I think that there is a I think there's a link that goes like Mossad FOP. It's just very nefarious. And they're just keeping each other going. But yeah, watching that makes me sick.
If you think that makes you sick, we can take it to a whole other level, because now we're going to show you exactly what the real president of the United States, yes, I'm going to keep saying it because I think it's true, has to say when he sat down with Andrea Mitchell.
It's the fourth time you have been in Israel since October 7th. And you have said from the beginning that that massacre had to be responded to, that Israel had to invade. But now it's been 100 days. It's 23,000 Palestinian civilian lives, according to reports. The hostages, 134 hostages, 6 Americans included, have been there for all this time. Things have changed. Doesn't Israel now have to wind this down? Isn't that what you want?
Well, we all want to see this conflict end as quickly as possible. We all want to see the suffering of people who are caught in the middle end as quickly as possible.
They're not. Stop it. They're not caught in the middle. They're the target. This is the fundamental problem. Is he knows it. They all know. Well, Joe might not, because who knows what Joe knows. But the people that are actually in charge, they know that this isn't collateral damage. Ironically, today is the day that I got to hear some of the arguments from South Africa. And let me tell you about the South African Dream Team. Loving them. If you haven't seen any of the arguments in the International Court of Justice by South Africa, strongly recommend watching. That's what people with brains do. They make valid arguments. He's sitting here lying. I know he's lying. He's been there 4 times. He already knows. He knows it's not collateral damage. He knows they're trying to commit a genocide. He doesn't care, which is why I hate watching these interviews, because she knows that he knows, and he knows she knows he knows. And they're sitting there having a conversation like none of us know.
Well, there's no question that Mitchell is trying to basically tell him, I know you're lying and you really shouldn't.
And the truth is, she's a fucking tool too. So you know what? This is like one tool helping another tool be a tool.
Well, you have 2 Jewish people having a conversation right now.
It's like
they can't have any semblance of reality as to what's going on.
But when you say people caught in the middle, it makes me want to rip your throat out. There's nobody caught in the middle. There's no middle. What middle? Those are the targets. They're killing civilians. They're committing a genocide. There's no middle.
The real difference, honestly, between the Democrats and Republicans at this level of government is that when you have a face like Tony Blinken, he seems a lot more appealing than a face like John Bolton. It's a lot easier, true. But they're still committing the same atrocities.
Yes.
But one is just doing it more genteel than the other
and without the ridiculous mustache.
That mustache is epic. Don't even say it. Don't say it, because I will not have those 2 things conflated in my head. That will ruin one of the greatest mental images that I have. Don't even. All right, I won't.
Seriously.
All right, here we go.
It's vital that Israel be able to do everything possible to ensure that October 7th never happens again. And it's made good progress toward that objective.
You say they've made significant progress, but yet an important minister, Gallant, said they are about to attack Khan Yunis in the south very strongly. And there are people there who haven't even been moved back to the north.
So we've seen now a phase down of the operations in the north.
Yes,
that's important.
You know why they phased out operations in the north? Because they're getting their asses handed to them. Because the reality is the great IOF, because I can't even say IDF, they're not defending anything. They're an occupation force. They're not that great on the ground. They're really good at dropping bombs like cowards from the sky, but they're really not that great on the ground. And they're getting their asses handed to them in North Gaza. That's why they're pulling out, because they're never going to win the ground war there, which is why they have to keep bombing them from above. Cowardly. And then they go into those empty neighborhoods and dance around and do these jigs and celebrate these disgusting soldiers who I long to see in The Hague. And it's just really unbelievable. I am so embarrassed and yet just angry, and it's just disgusting.
It's also very easy to dance around and act like you're victorious when you're not being challenged by people who have anywhere near the combat skills that you do.
They're being challenged. That's why they're pulling out of North Gaza. They've had over 100 and something, it was 105 at one point, that the last number I checked, of dead IDF soldiers just from their operations in North Gaza. They're not going to walk out. Like, they're not okay losing their own people. You know, now they don't mind hostages getting killed. They've made that clear. They've killed their own hostages.
Could you also clear up the misconception regarding the hostages? You have people, including a handful of people who showed up at the freaking Golden Globes the other day with an Israel yellow ribbon pin
for the hostages,
suggesting that because for I guess the 75 hostages that remain, isn't there 10,000 Palestinian hostages?
It's more like 20. But it's really absurd, and they really just don't know how unbelievably stupid they look to everybody else in the world, people that do that. No, the hostages are not even remotely a consideration by Israel. They don't care. They made that very clear. When you're just dropping bombs on top of buildings and you have no idea where your hostages are being held, you are totally disregarding their lives. You obviously don't care. That's not your priority. Also, as we just saw recently, when Israel took out whoever they took out in Beirut, that they were how come they were able to have a targeted strategic attack there, but yet in order to get Hamas in Palestine, they have to kill all the civilians? See, that's the thing. There's nobody caught in the middle. Those are targets.
Let's finish it.
You've seen the withdrawal of a significant number of forces, of Israeli forces that were in Gaza, particularly again in the north, where they've achieved a lot. And as I said, we want to see this conflict come to an end as quickly as possible, consistent with Israel's objective of making sure that October 7th doesn't happen again. And as they're completing that effort, we want to do everything we possibly can to increase.
I don't understand how people can honestly take that seriously. They're trying to make sure that October 7th never happens again. How's that working out for you? How's that working out for you? That's like making sure 9/11 doesn't happen again. No, but something else will happen.
So let's say that let's say that Hamas has 5,000 members and you have murdered over 10,000 children. How many more members of Hamas do you think you've created?
Let me guess. Oh, come on. We should have fun math with Jen and Pete on this. So if you kill one terrorist in front of their children and they have 5 children, then that makes 5 terrorists minus the one you killed. So that's a net of 4. See that we could do like terrorist math.
And then we'll have a conversation about 7 to 10 years from now where this is becoming a story again. We got to go get them because they're going to.
Well, there won't be anything there.
The whole cycle repeats itself.
Well, no, you're going to have 2 million dead bodies in the desert.
Which is why when she says 23,000, I'm hearing it's closer to 30,000. And not only that, but you're not taking into account the deliberate starvation. And the one thing that also isn't being talked about that I came across the other day, the people in Gaza are so desperate for food that what the IDF decided to do was put out like a telegram, if you will, that, hey, there's going to be like a food truck coming through.
And they bombed it.
They saw that the people were gathering, thinking that the food truck was coming, and went, kapow!
I just watched an old woman crossing the street. I was watching it live happen. Somebody was filming it. Bunch of people, villagers, crossing a street. This old woman holding her grandson's hand crossing, and they just shot her dead. A sniper just shot her dead.
Sure.
And
because she was with Hamas. She's a terrorist. Don't you know?
It's so ridiculous.
There we go.
Protections for civilians to make sure that humanitarian assistance is getting in and getting to people who need it. And that's what we're working on relentlessly every day. And of course, the hostages. I had an opportunity to meet with the families again. I've met with many of them, almost all of them before, on several occasions, including with President Biden. For them, these 3 months have been an eternity.
Uh-huh.
Every day, every hour, every minute feels like an eternity. So we're also relentlessly focused on bringing them home.
Oh my God. But no mention of anybody else. But you know what? We're dealing with people. These people truly believe that Palestinian lives are not worth as much. They really do. And not just Palestinian lives. I mean, probably any, brown global South type nation. They don't matter. They don't matter. Just the way he talks about it, it's so clear that it doesn't matter to him.
And again, to the degree that you look at the way the corporate media handles these types of situations.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have Andrea Mitchell saying, what about the 10,000 or the 20,000 Palestinian hostages?
No one talks about that.
What about she did mention the Palestinians that have been killed.
Well, that's nice of her.
But the fact that they bring up the hostages, they always knee-jerk back to the hostages. And that is what they constantly want to talk about. And yet at the same time, they're never going to address the fact that it is completely unequitable. There is no comparison. One is really dealing with a serious problem here, and the other.
Also, I would say that all the aid trucks that have been being sent over, that we're sending all those aid trucks, they're all piled up in the Sinai, and Israel's not letting them in. You've got like tens of thousands of trucks lined up, sitting in the desert right now with stuff in them to help Palestinians, and Israel's not letting them in. So everybody who's donating to send stuff there, that's great, but Israel's not letting any of it in. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.